I shouldn't say that because we're not done. Probably jinx ourselves. Tuesday morning, I got the fertilizer spreader behind me loaded up with some MAP and potash. Go spread this one field and get either, well, I'll probably get Jack to joker it, the fertilizer in and get it ready to plant. I got a 23 acre field to plant before I go to the backfield. I actually might do the backfield first because sometimes it's nice to finish closer to the road and not across a river into a backfield. So anyways, I'll show you what I mean when I get there, but we have to go through a river crossing, so I'm gonna head down the road. Well, about to go through the river crossing here. No problem. It's got a good rock base in the bottom of it, so it's not really an issue crossing. We can go through there with the pickup truck. The hardest part actually is crossing onto this side that we're on now. The bank's just a little bit muddy. It needs almost dug out and put some stone in there, but not a problem. We got through. Okay, I got the fertilizer spread this morning. I got Jack set up on the joker to do a second pass on that field just to work in the fertilizer and to smooth it out, and to actually work it in the direction that we're going to plant it. So he's doing that right now. I have two small little fields. I didn't forget, I knew I had to plant them. I just keep prolonging them. They're one's 1.2 acres and the other one's 1.3 acres, I think. So I might just go plant them now, use up the seed that I have actually in the planter a little bit more. Then I'll come home, fill up the planter with 24 bags of corn. I got all the dry and liquid fertilizer in it already, and then I'll go back and probably plant that field that Jack's jokering right now, and then move to the front field. Well, then that will be corn, other than a little bit of sweet corn we're going to plant for our garden, but I'm not too worried about planting it yet because it's not warm. It's not cold, but we just got a cold spell coming, and I'm not going to risk planting sweet corn. Because it's not quite as good as field corn that way. Okay, I got those stupid little fields planted. I think a whopping 4 acres total or something. Jack was having problems with the joker. The one wing was bouncing, he said. And upon further inspection, there's a stone stuck in the packer wheels at the back. So he's on his way home with the joker right now, and we'll take a sledge to it and get the stone out and just make sure there's no damage, and he'll go back and finish while I load up the planter with seed, I guess, and then I'll probably head out and start planting that field. Lift it up a little bit. Hey. Got it out. We're just going to measure the distance on the gauge wheel arms to make sure that they're right. Jack did change a couple of them because he thought it was something going on with the joker setting itself, but it was a stone. So we'll get those set properly and he'll be off to the field and finish. Okay, we're planting away. You can see with the planter behind me, I got in this little 23 acre field, and I'm pretty sure that by the time I get this one done, Jack, who's way behind me across that river flats land in the field behind, he'll be done, and I'll just move back there to finish planting corn. Having a bit of a problem with my one row unit number 12, that one I tore apart the other day. Planting high, I don't know, it's just being a stinker. But I think we'll get through the little acres we got left here to plant, and it'll be fine. We'll just gotta turn. Yeah, I'll be honest, corn planting this year seemed to go quite well. No major problems. I shouldn't say that because we're not done. Probably jinx ourselves, but planter worked good. There's a few things I'm going to do to the planter to upgrade it for next year, I think. The one issue that we are running into is just our strips are a little bouncy, and the seed that goes down through the seed tube into the ground from the meter that I showed yesterday in the video, it will bounce in that tube, and then the spacing is not very good. So I'm going to get some speed tubes, I think, which basically isolate the seed in a tube and conveys it down to the soil, and then that way will alleviate the issues we're having with the spacing. And I think a few other things I might do, but so far it's working pretty good. I'll just have to do some mods for next year, but overall I can't complain. I'm in the backfield. I came back here as soon as Jack finished with the Joker because I wanted to not finish back here, because if I run short of seed we have to cross the river crossing there and it's just a pain in the butt. So I came back here to plant this first, and I only got about 5 acres left back here. I'll give you an idea after I turn here what this field looks like. It's a bit of a puzzle piece, and it just makes it interesting to have to plant. So that's the field there. As you can see, it's pretty unique shape. Sorry for bouncing around. I do have to say, this is the nicest this farm or field on this farm is planted in a number of years. It just seems that the last 3 springs have been maybe wet, and this field, it gets saturated and it takes a really long time to dry out. And soil takes a long time to dry out even with the cold weather, but this is the driest I've seen it. I think there's like one kind of dark spot or spring that we're fighting with, but it's maybe the size, it's maybe 20 feet by 20 feet. It's not very big at all. And it just, finally, I think we got this field back into shape. We've been fighting with it for a couple of years. We had some really bad dandelions, some compaction issues. So I got it sprayed last fall with Roundup and 2,4-D to kill the dandelions. And then we disc ripped it to help root out the roots from the dandelions and just get that compaction removed from the soil. And for the first time ever, we used a Joker on the disc strip ground instead of the cultivator, and I think the Joker did a really good job. It might be something that we use more often instead of having a cultivator. Now the cultivator is nice because it's 45 feet, but to be honest, I'm not a fan of it. I just don't think it does a great job. And I found this Joker did a really nice job on this ground, and especially a field that isn't tiled and can be wet and can be tough to work up. The Joker just did a really good job to make a super nice seed bed. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this field's going to do well this year. Ran out of seed with 3 widths left, so 90 feet. So Jack just dropped off a 1.5 bags, which should finish us. So get this thing fired up and we'll finish up the last 3 passes. Missed grabbing the last rounds with the camera. I was too busy watching the fertilizer. I got lucky this year and everything kind of ran out right near the end, which is good. So I was just having to pay attention to that stuff and didn't have the camera out. So far, corn planting is done. And as I said, it went smoothly, no big breakdowns. Everything seemed to run out proper and right, so the fertilizer worked out, and now we just kind of cross our fingers a little bit and hope that we get it up and out of the ground, which is the next step in this journey. So corn for 2020 is a wrap, planting wise, and done May 5th, which is a darn good feeling. We didn't start till May 13th last year, and we finished June 8th. So it's kind of a nice spot to be in. Well, as much as I would like to bask in the glory of having the beast parked in the shed here and being done, we gotta get spraying. The wind's down. I think we'll take advantage of that and we'll get to some pre-herbicides down and some 28 on this ground that I just planted. Okay, we're gonna put some more fertilizer on the wheat. Too windy to spray, done planting corn. And the 28 on the wheat's probably a little bit more critical than trying to risk plant soybeans before this really cold snap that we're gonna get. So we're gonna rock off some 28 and sulfur on the wheat, the last shot, and probably spend the next day and a half doing that. Well, things didn't go quite as planned. Went to check the sprayer and prime the boom after I filled it up there to do 28 on the wheat, and I had a bad sensor wire that wouldn't read pressure on my boom, so won't let me spray. So thanks very much to Delta Power and Equipment for coming out and fixing my sprayer up. We found a wire that was likely stretched because it would sense pressure when the boom was raised, but when I lowered the boom it would lose pressure, so wouldn't work without it. But we got it fixed by splicing in a small chunk of wire to take the stretch out, and got her going again. So I don't like leaving a full tank, so we went out and tried it, and it worked good, except that it's like gale force winds. So even with those little streamer nozzles, seven hole streamer nozzles, they can handle some wind, but too much wind has an effect on the pattern, and it also splashes a lot more into the wheat, which can cause a lot more burn. So I got this tank load off. We're gonna just sit here, and I think it's supposed to calm down later tonight, so I might just hold off for a little bit here. Good morning. It is a day in a week. I don't know anymore, nor do I really care. We got stuff to do. Days don't really matter. We had a pretty heavy frost this morning. We're in for some cold temps for about 5 days, and I'm a little worried just about the impacts we're gonna have, especially on our seedling alfalfa. It should be okay because it's not at a really critical growth stage. It should handle the cold weather. The other one I'm worried about is my canola because it's bud stage. So I'm kind of hoping that the wind stays up. Probably won't get as much of a frost if the wind stays up. It's just a little nerve-wracking, but they're calling for some snow too, which we've had snow in May before, but this is a cold snap. They're talking a polar vortex. So I'm going to go out and do 28 again, finish that up today on the winter wheat. I had to wait here this morning until the frost burnt off. If you actually put 28% on wheat with a frost on it, it actually kind of stays there, it melts the frost, and then it scorches the crap out of the leaf. So now that the frost is off, I'll load up and go out. I got about a third of it done last night before I just got tired and quit. I don't say I'm feeling my age, but this last week I've been tired. Yeah, but farming, we'll keep at it. I feel better today. Sun's out, guns out. Woohoo! we're getting the last load of 28 out right now. That'll be it for 28 on wheat. We're gonna have to do a little bit of 28% nitrogen on the edible beans. That they need a little bit of nitrogen. They're a legume that can nodulate and get nitrogen from the atmosphere. But the rhizobia strains that we have in the soil aren't great, and they're not very good at it. So we have to give them a little bit of extra nitrogen to kind of help out in that process. So we'll still gotta do a little bit of 28, but the wheat's done. I gotta do a little shot of about 10 acres of corn, and then we can switch over to start doing some spraying burn downs for the soybean ground. So we got edible beans going over in the field there, and those are going to be some soybeans in that field there. I don't know what it is about sunlight and crops and which way you look at them, but sometimes when the sun shines on a crop and you're looking at the crop directly into the sun, I find it always looks slimy or less green, and then when you look at it kind of with the sun to your back and looking at it that way, it looks greener. So the wheat sometimes looks pale coming this way, the opposite direction I'm going right now, and it looks really green going this way. So I don't know if people ever see that or think that, but I find that sometimes happens when I go down a road and I look one way and I'm like, oh, that corn's kind of yellow. I look the other way, it looks green, and then when I drive at it a different way, I'm like, oh no, it's green, it's not yellow. But sun has a lot to do with how stuff looks and how green stuff is. But I'm actually pretty happy with all my wheat. I got just that one tough 60-acre field, but we always have to have a field that keeps us humble. So I think happy to have this job off the list, and we'll get back at some other jobs after we endure this polar vortex we get this weekend. So, and then we'll be hard at soybeans, which will be nice. I hate to wish it, but I kind of feel like we could use a nice warm rain, not snow or cold rain, but I think maybe later in a couple weeks we can get a nice one after we get most of the crops planted. The edible beans we won't plant till probably the end of May or the 1st of June, depending on temperatures. We like to have them pretty warm soil, warm air temperatures, so they're kind of in and out in 5 days. So anyways, that's my ramblings for today. I'm happy to get out of the sprayer seat here and have a more relaxing evening this evening.